Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fellow kitten eaters, and welcome to Intelligence Report with avoiceformen.com, shrinkformen.com, and today, menaregood.com. Unfortunately, Dean Esmay has some health issues in his family, which he's attending to. We want to send out our best wishes on that. We're thinking of you, Dean and G. Get better soon and get back to us. But the show must, as they say, go on. So let us start by introducing our special guest to Intelligence Report this week, Tom Golden from menaregood.com and from mainstreammedia.com. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Paul. It's good to be here.
We're starting to have you on all these shows. It's becoming a regular thing.
He's becoming ABFM's Heather Locklear. Special.
I like that. I like that. that wrong hairdo, but definitely, you know, we can work on that.
There you go. I can wear a wig.
Try to budget for it. Well, also let us not be remiss in not introducing Dr. Tara Palmatier of shrinkformen.com, who comes with us every week to Intelligence Report, and this time we're going to be discussing Women Against Feminism. So it's especially double, extra special, super decoder ring great that we've got a woman, Dr. T, with us. Welcome, Dr. T.
Hello.
Women Against Feminism. Oh my God. I have never seen anything quite like it, and don't worry, folks, for all of you that are going to say, don't pop the cork on the champagne, feminism isn't destroyed yet. We're not popping any corks.
Although many feminists certainly are popping their corks.
Yes, they are, and as they often do. That's the title of this hangout. But just to give everybody a rundown on what's happened, someone, it appears to be our very own Janet Bloomfield. We don't know for sure, but a rumor has it that Janet Bloomfield of judgybitch.com, also the social media director for A Voice for Men and an all-around badass in the men's rights area, started a hashtag or group, Women Against Feminism. And it had for several months, it started January 3rd of this year, and for several months it hovered around 2,000 likes on Facebook. Then all of a sudden the Women Against Feminism hashtag was born, and boom, it's 16,000 likes, 14,000 of which came in the last week after that hashtag started trending. And it's drawn media attention from many, many different places. It has drawn some rather negative attention from feminists who seem to have a rather interesting way of reacting to somebody saying that they don't need them. Let me ask you first, I want to ask Dr. T something. My impression watching all this, all the reactions from feminists, which is what I really want to concentrate on because they are so funny, is this insane sort of histrionic, oh my God, you don't understand feminism, you don't understand feminism. Isn't that indeed the battle cry of the borderline when they are confronted with somebody who is pointing out their abusive behavior? Isn't you don't understand something that a lot of people with personality disorders happen to say when their behavior is called out?
Yes. And it's actually, you don't understand is the kindest criticism I've read by the feminists who are up in arms against the Women Against Feminism, the growing Women Against Feminism members. They've also been accused of being stupid, brainwashed. Let's see.
Feminists have accused them of being brainwashed. Okay.
Yes. It's projection. It's not just a room in the back of the theater. Yeah. And yeah, so it's because these women are speaking up and speaking out against feminism. They are being portrayed at best as idiots, or at worst as, you know, enabling members of the patriarchy and depression and closeted misogynists and having internalized sexism, and it's just all It's name calling. I mean, what it reminds me of actually, it's like, yes, I definitely see some personality disorder traits here in that the women, the feminists who are freaking out about this, it's like they are demanding that the entire world conform to their belief system, which, pardon my language, it's fucking crazy. And they're having a meltdown because there's a growing number of women, or at least women are actually becoming more vocal about not buying into their ideology. And they can't handle it. It reminds me of middle school mean girl behavior, where if you don't go along with what the popular girls want, you get ostracized and picked on.
Relational aggression, yet again.
Well, women excel at it, and there's research that proves that.
I was thinking even earlier, like,
number one.
like 5 or 6 year olds, you know, who don't get their way and they just throw tantrums.
That too. I agree. Yeah.
I think from what I'm seeing, you know, they simply don't have practice in being challenged. Nobody's really challenged them for 50 years.
Or being told no. Or being told no, thank you.
Or even somebody saying, I politely disagree with you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
And let's be frank about this. And I wanted to ask you, Tom, about this. I mean, part of the reaction, I have to say, while I don't sympathize with feminists, I understand, because while we're not popping any corks and making a big celebration here about the end of feminism quite yet, the fact of the matter is that this was a tremendous public bitch slapping of that ideology right out in the open. These signs were basically MRA, many of them. Some of them, and we'll get into this, were, I think, more pro-traditionalist type messages, but a lot of these messages are presenting the same arguments that we have been presenting for 6 years at A Voice for Men, and that other men's issues groups have been articulating for even much longer than that. Basically, that feminism is about a victim ideology, that it's based on lies, that it's based on demonizing men, and that they're sick of it. And this is the first time, to my recollection, this was not polite disagreement. This was grabbing feminists by the collar, rattling them and shaking them and telling them to shut the fuck up in public in a very, very humiliating way. So while, again, I don't sympathize with their histrionic reaction, they certainly had it coming. Do you think that this is something that's going to spark more panic in them, Tom?
Well, I don't see how it couldn't spark more panic. You know, because I read the Time magazine article, and I had to chuckle to myself because the writer called the Women Against Feminism groups the new egalitarians. The new egalitarians. And I read that and I went, what are you talking about? And as you said, Paul, it's the same thing we've been saying for how many years? And we've been called misfits and assholes and misogynists and whatever. We've been saying the exact same thing, but they're the new egalitarians. And we're the fill in the blanks. It's like crazy, but you know, even though I don't even care if it's crazy like that, I just love what I'm seeing. I just love what I'm seeing. It's so overdue, and it's just so heartwarming to see these women just having at it and saying, "No, I don't need feminism because X, Y, Z, and all the way down the pipe." Ah, I like it.
That's something I've been saying, and not just me. You know, Paul and I have certainly had this discussion that in order for feminism to really be dismantled, and the damage that they have done to men and boys, women are going to have to join the party.
Yes.
Women are going to have to say, we are tired of this shit. I know through my own work, I work with a number of the wives, the current wives and girlfriends of men who have abusive, crazy exes who were horribly discriminated against in family court, whose exes are still causing problems, and you know, these women and their new families are ignored by the family courts, and they are sick to death of this. They are sick and tired of the bullshit.
Yep.
And I think, and I have to wonder, and I wonder what percentage of the women who are joining the WAF page are part of that group.
Mm.
Well, I think it's probably a mixture. I mean, there's something here that I think has to be addressed, and so I'm going to say something about it and ask you for both of your comments. Now, in all fairness, I think it must be said, I did not become a men's advocate so that I could reclaim some imaginary place on a white horse, or so that I could make my life about taking care of a woman. That's not why I'm here, and it never will be a part of why I'm here. And I'm not saying this to, you know, take a poke at women who hold up signs that say, I don't need feminism because I like the fact that my husband doesn't mind working harder than me. But I do want to point out that there is a certain percentage of these women in that group. I don't think they are representative of the same values that are expressed in places like here, or on Dr. T's site, or even Tom Golden's. But I do think that they have a place for a voice in this. This is supposed to be about a life of choices for everybody. I don't have any qualms with men who want to take a job and support a family and have their wives be at home with their children. I think it's a fact that if you're with the right partner and you're lucky enough to never get mixed up with the family court system, that's a really good way to go. So I think we should be really, really supportive of that. But I do think it needs to be said that not all of these women, I think, fully understand the nature of the claim that they don't understand feminism may be right for some of them. In the end, I don't think it matters. What we have is a lot of women standing up and saying, enough of this crazy bullshit. And that is what is needed more than anything else.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not one of the Women Against Feminism because I want to, you know, go into the kitchen and bake Nestle Toll House cookies and meet my, you know, that's not why I'm against feminism. And I have the same concerns too, because I don't think many of the trad cons are actually supportive of men's issues. But I think choice is good, and if that's what a couple decides works for them, that's fine. Although I don't have qualms, but I am concerned, because if it doesn't work out, the man who's been working full-time and the woman who's been staying at home can and probably will get screwed in family court, because that's the way the laws are written right now.
Let me throw in, before Tom comments on this, let me throw in a comment that is up here now, and it says, and this is from Mike, who says, I don't like that Women Against Feminism is still framing itself as a females issues group. It seems to me that's still gynocentric, which is the problem in the first place, right? Same tactics. Let's just throw that into the mix. And I mean, again, you know, we're not having this hangout to try to slow down the Women Against Feminism initiative. We're very supportive of it, but these are valid points that I think need to be answered. Tom, you want to take a shot at that one as a part of this discussion?
You know, my reading of the Women Against Feminism site, there's probably at least half of them are talking about men's issues. Half of them are saying, you know, you're not dealing with men's issues like whatever, you know, the circumcision or this or the that. So I'm a little bit less concerned about that, but I think it is a valid point. You know, I think it's even more valid point to see that when women speak, everyone jumps to attention. You know, and Time Magazine jumps in the week they get all these women saying something. It's like, it's a good point, but I think it's part of the limitations that we have in today's
That's the same Time Magazine that said when we were saying the same exact things that we were misogynistic pigs.
Exactly.
When it came from women.
What was that venomous little Cupid doll's name? Jessica Roy, is that her name?
Yes.
Yeah, so reading Kathy Young's piece in the wake of Roy's poison pen piece was very interesting, to say the least, in the same publication. conversation.
That's almost like a whole new discussion, especially when we get into the area of Kathy Young. Let me say this about that, Mike. I think there's also needs to be said that there is such a thing as women's issues that are worth being discussed. We take the position at A Voice for Men of discussing men's issues all the time. And the fact of the matter is there's a whole subculture of women whose issue is that their family lives are being destroyed because they are married to men who are still being devastated by family courts or emotionally and otherwise terrorized by high conflict exes. That is, I would say, a women's issue. And that's what a lot of these women will and are be speaking to. I don't think that's gynocentric. I mean, well, maybe to a degree it is, but I don't want to take fear of gynocentrism to the level that we start denying that there are issues that impact women in their lives, or that they shouldn't be spoken about.
But in this case, it seems that the women who have these issues and men who want reform in the family courts, these are symbiotic issues, and they can be addressed at the same time. You know, and I also think there's a group of women who want to get married and start to have families, but because of the killing fields of family court, more and more men are swearing off marriage. And this is going to damage women who do want to have a two-parent household within which to raise their families. And I don't blame men for not wanting to get married in this legal climate. No way I would do it if I were a guy. So, you know, in that case, if it takes enough women saying, hey, we've had enough of this because our needs, our wants aren't being met, that we need to reform the laws so that they're more just for everyone, I'm totally fine with that. And frankly, I don't think the laws are going to change until, because as I think Tom pointed out, nobody listens until women start complaining.
Yes, I think in some ways the old adage that your enemy's enemy can be your friend applies in this case. You know, I just am so happy to see it happening. I don't care, you know, whether they're from Mars. You know, just be hacking away at feminism and to be getting publicity for it. I mean, that to me is a good sign.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I don't see any downside
Right.
to the fact of the matter is that feminism has been perpetuated as a sick ideology largely with the complicity of men in this culture and the silence of women who imagine that they have benefited from it.
You just pointed out one of my favorite ironies, Paul. Feminism, you're silencing women's voices. What they're trying to do to the Women Against Feminism group.
Yeah, and then their response to women. Yeah, it looks good on them. I just really think it looks awfully good on them right now. Do you hear that, feminists? That Time magazine is now calling your opponents the new egalitarians, which is, I think, a misnomer. I think it's probably the only egalitarians because feminism was never egalitarian to begin with. It was never about equality. And now women are finally, I mean, how fucked in the head does your ideology have to be when the people it is intended to consume it start saying, fuck this crazy shit?
Now,
I mean, man.
Feminism has definitely jumped the shark.
So whatever you're doing out there, you feminists that are tweeting what idiots these women are, please keep tweeting.
I know, it's like crack addicts saying, please, I just can't do any more blow.
Yes, no more free drugs. I can't take it anymore. Oh, yeah. It is. It's that funny. I mean, just watching this, and you know, we've addressed this before, and we have honestly tried to help feminists stop the men's movement. We have given them the information they need. One, let me repeat it again. So if any of you feminists out there are serious about wanting to stop the men's movement, I can tell you exactly how to do it. And if you follow my instructions, it will put an end to the men's movement. There's no questions about it. One, get rid of the members of your ranks that are fucked in the head. Now, admittedly, that will decrease your numbers significantly in the beginning, but that will also start attracting people who aren't fucked in the head. See the picture, how it goes there, you sort of weed out, you cull out the dead weight, the hateful ideologues, the Elizabeth Sheehy's, the Mary Kosses, and there's lots of them. We can just keep naming Jessica Valenti, Amanda Marcotte, all these idiot professors that are pushing this hateful agenda. If you want really interested in equality, and if you are interested in identifying feminism with equality, then the first thing you need to do is get rid of these idiots and these hateful ideologues that are in your way. Second, the next thing you do is actually start advocating for equality. Now that means that you have to address issues that affect men unequally. I know that's a strange concept, but look at it this way. If you accomplish step one and get rid of these people that are fucked in the head, the people that are left over will understand the concept of equality, including both sexes. It will be really helpful. So what you have left over will be a population of people that say, oh, yeah, well, we probably should take a look at what's going on in family courts, and why isn't there a selective service registration requirement for women, and why are men killing themselves so much more often than women? Why does that skyrocket during divorces? How come men get 66% more time in prison for the same crime as women? And you start actually including those very real issues in what you do, and before you know it, you will have an equity feminism movement that is credible, that is not such a laughingstock that now Time magazine is referring to a hashtag as your opposition that proves you're nuts. And then open up the world to joining men's advocates on addressing issues that affect anybody unfairly. And boom, there will be no more men's movement, there will be no more women's movement, there would be a gender equity movement that would be beneficial and helpful to society. Now, is that so hard?
Well, and just by letting go of the professional victimhood, the women as victim mentality, that will slough off the people who are quote unquote fucked in the head in the feminist movement right from the get-go, because seeing yourself as a perpetual victim is something oftentimes that many borderline personality disordered individuals do, believing that half the population is out to get you and rape you and murder you. That's quite paranoid. So, you know, if they could get rid of the paranoids and the borderlines from the movement, that would be a good start. But I truly believe that feminism in its current incarnation appeals to people who seriously have characterological issues.
Well, that is the one challenge, and I'll put this to you and to Tom. If feminism as a community got rid of people with, you know, characterological disorders, personality disorders, people that were generally fucked in the head, it would end up with, in my opinion, with Christina Hoff Sommers and Camille Paglia sitting in a room looking at each other wondering what to do next. So there's a challenge. When your movement has been taken over by the lunatics, how do you get the lunatics out?
By the fire alarm pullers, by the people ripping down posters and phoning in death threats.
And which feminists, by the way, and I got to ask this, even in fairness to anyone out there who defines themselves as an equity feminist, and there are a couple of those that do so, which I have some respect for, how many writers of the feminist, equity feminist ilk did we see out there condemning what happened at the conference on men's issues that we had with the death threats, condemning the fire alarm pullers, condemning the what was a near riot in Toronto. I did see some journalism on it that was really good and fair, but it wasn't written by feminists. I didn't see a single feminist blog. I didn't see anything at the Good Men Project. I didn't see anything at Pandagon. I didn't see anything anywhere there. You know what I saw? I saw Nocturnus Libitus, a YouTuber without a huge audience, but is familiar to some, who identifies as a radical feminist, make a video telling feminists basically what the fuck is up with this stuff. You guys need to let people talk. That was it. That was the response from the entire feminist community that I do watch all the time to all this stuff going on. So I don't know. Maybe my advice is
I could be wrong, but I think their silence either means that they condone what's been taking place, or they're afraid to speak out against it.
I'm going to go with the fear. What do you think, Tom?
I think that they have gotten to the point where they are so sure that what they think is correct that they can't see an alternative. You know, the women's studies places, the Division 51, you know, all of these places that are basically feminist loaded have this attitude that there is no other way. You know, there's just no other way, and it's you can call it pathological if you want, but it's just simply like this. And anything that goes outside of those blinders is heresy. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Let me reframe the question, and let's take a guy like Michael Kimmel, who I believe is, ideologically speaking, very toxic and profoundly limited in his scope of vision.
Yes.
He is not stupid. Michael Kimmel is not a stupid guy by any stretch of the imagination. He's actually quite brilliant.
Yes.
There is no way that Michael Kimmel can look at what's happening now with people pulling fire alarms and making death threats and not know that there's something wrong with that. However ideologically bent he is, he's an intelligent enough man that he knows that something wrong is in that. Is this just a lack of character on his part, and men like him and other female feminists like him, that they see all this going on, that they see these absolute insults to life in a free society, and then look the other way like it's not happening? Because I really can't believe, I do agree, Tom, that these people do have these blinders on, and ideologically they see through one lens and it's that lens only. But, you know, I can't believe that all these people are so stupid that they do not see the wrongness in the attempts to abridge free speech and to intimidate and bully people out of speaking their minds.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I think that, you know, they probably do see the wrongness, but they think that's not us doing that. That's not us doing that thing. That's someone else. That's some crazy person who's doing that stuff. You know, and so it's almost pushed out, and blinders are safe because it's not us.
They don't represent feminism, right?
Yes, yes, they're not representing me. These are you know, people who are beyond, but they don't condemn it either. They don't openly say this is a problem, because in some ways it sort of facilitates their seeing the world in a very straight kind of manner.
And isn't it strange how these people who aren't representative of feminism seem to be fucking everywhere?
Well, they're the loudest. They're the loudest, and they're the ones affecting policy.
Yeah, and that is again, we're talking at. I think that's a real good point, Tara, because what we're talking about is a very basic civil liberties issue when we're discussing matters of pulling fire alarms and things like that. But when it comes to policy, it was Michael Kimmel and Nomis and that group that came in and filed an amicus brief to prevent the extension of domestic violence services to men in California, so that all the money could be saved for women. I just think they're evil.
Yeah. You know, every group has its own little lunatic fringe, but responsible leadership of that group needs to keep the lunatics on the fringe, not offer them the steering wheel.
Exactly.
Oh, where to go with this?
Instead of pandering to the crazies, which is what I think feminism does. It panders to the crazies.
Yeah, and it has pandered to crazies to the point that finding the sane has become a real challenge. And this is not something new. I could have predicted this a long time ago, and I knew when I started A Voice for Men, if there could be any established, high-profile, high-trafficked voice in opposition to feminism, that they would lose their marbles completely, because we are talking about, in many cases, pathological abusers who have become so accustomed to their privilege and authority over people that the idea of being told no, of being argued with or disagreed with or dissented from is absolutely unthinkable to them. Look at Adele Mercier's behavior at the Janice Fiamingo lecture. Standing up there in outrage to shut down free speech, and she said it was because you disagree with feminism. Holy crap. Well, that just probably added another 2,000 or 3,000 of those Facebook likes to Women Against Feminism. So please keep it up, Adele. I notice you've been quiet lately. I don't know why, but I wish you would start talking again, because it's fun. Okay, well, where are we? We're at about the 45-minute, or no, we got time. We got all the time in the world. There is going to be more to come on Women Against Feminism for sure. And again, I don't think this is the end of feminism, but I'm going to speculate right now that I think this is really the first visible point. Feminism was destined to end when it started. I mean, this whole stuff, this social process deal, is like, just like when you're born, you're destined to die. When feminism started, it was destined to be destroyed, and probably destroyed from within, because of just the nature of the movement. Now we are finally getting to see women stand up more and more and more. Here's a question directing for Dr. T, who also deals, I know, with a community of women whose lives have just been savaged in many ways by their husband's involvement with family court issues and other high conflict exes. We don't have any way to know whether they're connected to this movement, how connected they are, or if there could be some sort of fostering of an integration of that. But I want to put that on the table now, that is a large and building, growing community of women that are just sick and tired of feminist rhetoric for those reasons. Is there ways that we can start, merging these things together so that they start forming more organizations and groups that are doing even more than hashtags and holding up signs?
Yeah, we should schedule some MRA mixers. Maybe an ice cream social or two.
We could do that.
Why not?
But I was actually thinking more along activism lines.
Yeah, well, I think you're right, Paul. I think that this is a very important crack in the feminist wall that's been up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a crack, and things are starting to seep through. And it's like, it tells you that on the other side of this wall, there's probably a lot of stuff. But I think it's really important that the women are speaking up against feminism for a couple of reasons. One is because just hearing them speak, people start to take action and listen. But second, because guess what's going to happen? There's going to be men who will now white knight these women who don't like feminism.
Ironic.
And so this is going to call men in to protect these women who have been hurt by feminism. And so in some ways, it's kind of an ironic twist that it's going to get more and more people involved, and probably more men, too, who are going to want to protect these ladies.
All right, we're going to need new terminology from the beginning. We're going to have to, out of honor of their intent, label these guys black knights and say white knights for the guys that are trying to say feminists. But we're going to need a distinction between between who you're trying to rescue. And I mean, it's sad but true. But this is how these things work: is that there will now be men who come in, and especially, I mean, I'm male. I notice these things. I noticed on the Facebook page, scrolling through those signs, there's a whole lot of good-looking women holding up.
I was going to say the same thing. Some amazingly attractive women. My God,
they are.
Did they just pick these women because they were attractive?
No, these women self-participated. They pick themselves.
Yeah, very cool.
So we will have guys coming into White Knight now who would never have anything to do with the men's movement before, who would never have anything to do with anti-feminism.
Yes.
And they'll be seeing hot-looking women holding up signs saying feminism sucks, and they'll say, yeah, what she said.
That's it.
I guess we'll have to tolerate that part of this because it's human instinct and human nature. But that's what we're trying to foster anyway, so whatever.
I don't care what the motivations are as long as family law reform happens.
Exactly. I mean, this is a good part of the process. I'm for this. I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
No, it isn't. But I do want to draw a distinction between the guys who are coming in to support Women Against Feminism, and I'm hereby dubbing you Black Knights, and that is a term of honor.
I like that.
That is letting you know that we approve of that form of chivalry. If you insist on practicing this stuff, you might as well do something that's constructive for society, and this is a good one. I also want to toss out there, I want to put an invitation. I don't fully know who's behind the Facebook page or all the tweeting or who's directing or if anybody is directing, but if you're a part of Women Against Feminism, please email me at paul@avoiceformen.com if you're one of the sign holders and you would like to do a hangout. I would like to talk live on the air with 2 or 3 of you about your motives for doing this. I would like it to come from women who do it because they're housewives and taking care of their children, women who do it on purely equalitarian reasons, or for whatever reasons you have, anti-feminist reasons. But please contact me again at paul@avoiceformen.com, and let's start talking about setting up a live hangout where you can be the one, instead of us just sitting here guessing at all your meanings and trying to analyze it, where you can actually express live on YouTube to a significant audience what it is that you're saying and what it is that you're doing by participating in this, what appears to be a budding movement. We would love to have you, and we'll give you plenty of time to talk uninterrupted. I will simply ask questions and allow you to answer them in full without interruption. So again, one more time, paul@avoiceformen.com. I want to do a hangout with some of the women from Women Against Feminism.
Great idea. Great idea.
Okay.
Do we have a little? It's only 20 up. Do we have some time?
Yeah, we got some time.
I want to talk about the media, the media's negative reaction to this, because it's been comical in some respects. I know, Paul, you did an interview with I forget who, but we talked afterwards and said, the same old tired questions, and basically said, the media really needs to get some new some new material to work with when trying to attack the men's rights movement. And you know, in reading many of the, you know, out and out ad hominem attacks that many of these journalists were making against the Women Against Feminism, it just sounded like the same old garbage that they regurgitate anytime feminism is called into question.
And it is, and when you say old, Tara, I mean really old. One of the interviews, I think the interview you were referring to, I just did All Things Considered, an NPR, National Public Radio program, where I talked to a guy there for about 40-45 minutes. They sent me to a studio here in Houston to sit down so that they could have a great quality recording and we could have a nice discussion about the men's movement, the conference, and feminism. And I mean, this guy didn't waste any time at all before he was quoting things like women only make 77 cents on the dollar. I mean, he was repeating the same old, tired, shop-worn canards that feminists have had, that we've debunked for what, going on 15, 20 years now in most cases. And he's still just sitting there like a parrot. And they do need new material. They really need. We should add that to the list of how to help defeat the men's movement. Quit defending the same old tired bullshit lies.
And really, this issue with the liberal media, it's like this is their version of the right-wing conservatives' insistence that Iraq still had, that Saddam Hussein still had weapons of mass destruction and was responsible for the 9/11 attack. They're just as irrational on the wage gap myth and some of these other issues that have been debunked time and time again. They just will not let it go, despite all of the growing evidence to the contrary. I mean, they are the birthers of the mainstream media when it comes to gender issues.
As I tried to explain to this, and he was just a clone, a real clone from NPR, who said, well, you can't explain away the wage gap by women having babies. And I told him, I said, I'm not trying to explain anything away. I'm just trying to explain it to you. And he just could not absorb a single fact about it.
What is so difficult to understand? Somebody who works less hours at a lower paying job, like, let's face it, engineers are always going to make more money than, say, a receptionist at a spa. They're going to earn less money. It's not rocket science. And even if a female was an engineer in the same job, but she was only working 20 hours a week versus 40 or 50 hours a week, she is going to make less money. It's not difficult, yet they can't wrap their minds around it.
And the only thing I think they've been left with is to come up with new lies. I mean, I think once one starts to fail, I don't know, I think the wage gap myth is one that they've managed to sell enormously well because it certainly still gets parroted by everybody, but then they come out with crap like rape culture and concepts like enthusiastic consent and men can stop rape. I don't know. I just don't find anything in feminism anymore that represents anything but a lie. And the media is pretty much playing with all of it, except now that women are starting to speak. So we found the secret, guys. We need more women to speak up.
There's a miscalculation. They thought the same shaming and silencing tactics were going to work on this group of women that used to work on men, and by the way, aren't working on men anymore either. I mean, being called a misogynist, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we're all misogynists now, apparently. So it's not a label that means that much.
And rape apologist again has lost its punch. I mean, it's like the little girl who cried wolf one too many times.
Well, you know, and here's the deal, and I'm talking in purely pragmatic terms, which often offends people and offends them equally, because pragmatism is an equal opportunity destroyer. But I think we also need women to start shaming white knights and reinforcing the behavior of black knights. Nothing will drive this quicker from the white knight standpoint of view, which is I'm here to defend all women for all of history because my great-great-grandmother couldn't vote and because potato. I think women coming out and saying, hey, will you shut the fuck up? I don't need you to talk for me. Just go find somebody else to rescue. Quit treating me like I'm weak. Quit treating me like I can't make my own arguments. Quit treating me like I can't discuss my own issues. Just quit. Just shut up. And so for you women against feminism out there, I'm going to suggest to you politely that if you take that tack with men who come in to defend feminism and act like white knights and like they're the real saviors for women, one, as you already know, they are just trying to impress you. But two, if you let them know that you're the opposite of impressed and that you see them as weak and silly for behaving this way, it will help curb their behavior.
Quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
So we need a women against white knights.
Yeah, someone said in the comments that maybe it should be an anti-white knight.
Yeah, I saw a lot of good suggestions.
Yes.
I saw somebody said light knights.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Here we go. Light knights. I don't know if anybody put it, but we could also have right knights. But then somebody would turn that political.
Yes.
Why does it even need to be a knight? Why can't it be somebody just speaking up for equity?
Well, we were talking about it in the context of that we
Right.
know that there's going to be a certain amount of men that are doing this basically to impress,
Right.
especially good-looking women. That's what a lot of men do, no matter what. And I think that's wonderful in this case because
It can be used for the greater good. Why not?
I'm for whatever poison kills the rat.
Exactly.
It just doesn't matter.
I like
And
it.
folks, I've been watching the clock. We are approaching the top of our time. So let's start winding this down. And let me first turn to Mr. Tom Golden from Men Are Good. By the way, if you have not seen Tom Golden's talk on men at the International Men's Conference, it's available on this channel, as is Dr. T's, both of them blistering good talks. I suggest that you go in and watch them. It will show you what these people are about in a very condensed fashion, and you'll be quite entertained and informed at the same time. But Tom, do you have any final thoughts on Women Against Feminism and where we go from here, where they might be going?
I just feel good about it. That's all I got to say. I've been waiting for this for a long time. It just feels so good to see women stepping up and saying, this sucks. Oh, yeah. That's what I got to say.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about you, Dr. T? Any final thoughts?
About time, and what the hell took you so long?
Really?
Well, like I said, again, sometimes it takes a product a long time of festering before it triggers the gag reflex. But I think feminism has finally reached its shelf life to the point that it's doing just that. Again, I want to reiterate, dead serious, honest invitation. Any women out there that are members of Women Against Feminism, who don't mind coming on camera, talking live. We don't have to use your real names or anything like that. We'll maintain your anonymity as much as possible, and we can also set it up so that you don't have to have a camera. We prefer the cameras because it makes the programs more interesting, but under whatever terms you would like, contact me at paul@avoiceformen.com, and let's set up a hangout so that you can tell people what you're doing and why. I think it would be a fabulous hangout. I think it would have a huge audience, and I think it would give a good boost to whatever it is you're trying to do. And with that, I want to remind everybody that if you think you are in or might be in an abusive relationship, please go check out shrinkformen.com. You can also, if you're a man, especially if you're a guy experiencing any type of emotional struggles, if you're feeling depressed, if you're dealing with issues like divorce or loss or anything like that, go to menaregood.com, check out Tom Golden's website, and check out his services that are available. These are the only two clinicians I know that I could refer people to in good conscience, because I know they know what they're talking about, and I know that they understand men and men's issues. So again, that's a shameless plug for both of their services, but I'll make it every time they're here because I believe they genuinely help people. And with that, I'm going to thank you both for being here. Thank everybody for showing up to watching, and we will see you next time on Intelligence Report. Bye-bye.